Love the chance to add a little brightness into your busy day. Hopefully we do that here on Studio 5, and we all sure could use a little extra of that right now, because when the unthinkable happens, from natural disasters to senseless violence, finding hope can seem impossible. So today, how to find hope when life takes that tragic turn. Studio 5 relationship coach Dr. Matt Townsend is joining me. Gosh, the emotions that have been running lately are so high and so tender and yet so deep at the same time. It's hard to know how to process.
Well, and a lot of us, when we watch that, we then start processing it, thinking, could I handle that?
Right.
Like, could I go through that? And usually when we try to process something forward, like anticipating it, a hypothetical, we tend to think we couldn't handle it. But when you have to process it real time, you actually can handle it. So what I love about what we're seeing here is it's showing us that human beings really can handle more than you think you can handle.
We're resilient.
We are so resilient, and we can handle it. You can handle a hurricane. You can handle even a hurricane that takes everything away from you, even family members. You could take a tragic shooting, or you could take a diagnosis. You can handle it. It's scary to think of in the hypothetical,
sure.
But in the moment, what we do in the moment is we actually just have to live it moment by moment by moment. And when you live something moment by moment by moment, you handle it moment by moment by moment.
So then is your advice to put off the hypothetical, to put off the internalization that we do and think what if, or is your advice to mentally take a shift and say, I'm stronger than I think I am?
I would right now recognize, by looking at all these stories in the news, you and humans, all humans, can handle so much more. So heaven bless us not to have to handle it,
right.
But if we have to, trust in the fact of what you're seeing, that people can handle it. And then just know when you get there, you'll just have to handle it a moment at a time, a minute by minute by minute. So trust in the fact that you're resilient. You're kind of naturally resilient to really big events like that.
There are so many emotions at play. For me, the emotion that keeps jumping out personally, what I'm hearing others reflect, is one of vulnerability. And there's nothing more frightening than that feeling of being vulnerable.
And by the way, there's nothing more universal than the reality that humans are vulnerable. Except what we do as humans is we put up all these things that make us pretend like we're not vulnerable, like rules, and we have laws and prejudice and belief about things. We have all of these neat things that seemingly protect us, and all you need is one hurricane. And none of them matter.
Yeah.
Because nature's not going to follow those rules. So, in fact, where this all kind of begins in my mind is the story of just Adam and Eve, right? Adam and Eve in some garden, they partake of a fruit, naughty, naughty, shame, shame, shame. And then immediately what happened is they noticed they were naked. And that nakedness in my world is called vulnerability. So the Adam and Eve story starts to show that the minute they went into a different world, this world, they started feeling vulnerable. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your entire life hiding your vulnerability instead of accepting it. So the rule I give is accept your vulnerability, because once you accept vulnerability, it's what makes you human. And then you start to share your vulnerability. So right now is a great time to turn to your partner or the people you love and start telling them that it scares me if we were in a situation like Las Vegas. That terrifies me. And talk about how you're vulnerable, because the more you can talk about being vulnerable, the less vulnerable you feel.
So talk
it's
about
healing.
it.
It's
talk
healing.
about it.
Yeah.
One of the things that's tripped me up a little bit mentally about this, and we're seeing, you know, sadly and tragically, shooting after shooting or hurricane after hurricane. And the issues start to feel big and complex, right? Now it's leading to talk of policy and gun laws and all of that. It's big, it's complex, it's heated. And then there's this underlying message to just look for the good, and it feels so simple and almost trite. Right. But you say it's important to look for the good.
Well, and especially when you look at the scenario, there was one bad guy and 22,000 good people. And it's still, good people were harmed and injured and killed. But story after story after story of goodness, and even deeper goodness. People that had left the scene that came back to help. People that sat there and held people that were dying and passing away. People that just give. So what I think it teaches us is inherently people are good. And if we're not careful, the media has a tendency to focus on the bad people, because the bad people are the ones that create so much pain. But just trust inherently people are good. And you, by the way, are one of those good people. So know that when tragedy comes, when problems happen, there will be a group of people that will start to surround you, especially if you've tried your best to be one that surrounds others when they go through their difficult times. People are good. Don't ever question it.
It's easy to want to give up a little bit and think nothing will ever change as we're seeing these waves of tragedy continue to wash over us. How do we get past that feeling of just hands in the air, it is what it is?
It is what it is.
Yeah.
The reality is we are going to succeed or fail together. We are social beings, social animals, and we need each other. And I've said a million times on my radio show, when everyone was so, against each other, fighting against policy and politics, I said, all we need is one disaster, and we're all going to come together. So the funny thing is, if we don't keep recognizing that we need each other, this is just going to evaporate into nothing. So we need each other. Let's keep doing that. Draw bigger circles in your neighborhood. Open up your communities. Let more people into your circle. They're going to come into your circle anytime anyway, sometime anyway. Let them in now. Meet these people now. Start opening it up so that we can start to succeed together. Or go try to be all independent, and you'll be fine, and you'll think you're comfortable and safe until there's a disaster when we need to let everybody in.
And the problems are big, but our influence can be small and still be impactful. Right. Bonnie Oscarson, who's a religious leader in the LDS community, gave a sermon a couple of weeks ago, and she talked about that, how if we can change our little corner of the world, right, influence our homes, that in turn will influence the greater good.
And what could matter more to influence than relationships and people? And let people understand that they can be vulnerable with you because you'll protect them, that you're there to them, and together we're so much stronger than any of us are alone.
I love it. Good conversation.
Powerful.
We needed this. Matt, thank you so much.
Bet,
hey, switching gears, we have a date night coming up. You have a date night that we're excited about.
And you're going to introduce me.
I am. I'm writing my speech as we speak.
You better be. November 4th is the date. Yeah, you're going to give a speech.
Oh, okay.
It's about 14 minutes.
Okay, good.
November 4th, Saturday, 7 p.m. at Olympus Junior High. We're talking about how to bring happiness home. So if you got some grumpiness going on, if you don't think the people in the family know how to be happy, go sign up. Go to datenightswithmatt.com. Studio 5 is the code you put in. We'll give you a discount. We'll take care of you.
Use that discount.
Because we care that much.
They hook you up. It's the best thing you'll do for your relationship and a lot of fun at the same time. So thank you, Matt, so much.